Good day, folks. This is Bob from BBD with news and with views on this Saturday. Obviously, distressing scenes on the border because of the farmer agitation, the way we've handled it. I'm not sure. It shows just a lot of hubris at the center. Shows a lack of ability to listen to real grievances. It shows the penchant for just stuffing things down your throat. Right. What else is happening? Economy shrinks 7.5% as country enters recession. Formally, as if we already didn't know, right? We needed this note to tell us that we were in a recession. It feels like a recession. The gut tells us it's a recession. Except for the stock market, which is like on some kind of cocaine trip. It just seems that besides that, everything seems to be in stress, at least at the level where where the struggle for livelihood and where the struggle for daily survival continues constantly, right? What's the other stuff, right? We have this other lovely piece of news which says three army men killed in Pakistan firing, shelling LOC, right? Now, this kind of confuses me because then you have this note which says safeguarding India's borders, which is Rajnath Singh tough stand and responsible articulating the government approach. Which, let's say what it says. Mr. Singh said such an attack was next to impossible on Indian soil due to the manner in which India's national security infrastructure has been reconfigured. Now, we're talking about 2611. So while the 2611 obviously now can't happen again according to him. I hope he hasn't spoken too soon. But that didn't stop Pulwama, didn't stop Pathankot, isn't stopping this army shelling that's killed three Pakistanis, didn't stop two soldiers being shot down in the middle of Srinagar. Oh well, I guess everybody has his own take, and all of this merits it. But the most significant takeaway, which I agree to, from the Raksha Mantri's speech was his preliminary articulation of what can be called India's new national security doctrine. Mr. Singh said that India wants peace, but to prevent war, it has to be ready for one. Deterrence is, of course, an established precept. He also said, however, that India has both crossed the border and attack terror locations in Pakistan when necessary and has given a robust response to China. If this meant that Delhi was now inching towards what is being termed as offensive defense. Folks, how many times have you seen me, heard me take this particular narrative? Offensive defense. India always needs offensive defense. It has to be ready to fight a war with China and send that message loud and clear. Of course, you can't send that same message to the Pakistanis who are deaf and who anyway, right? But China will listen, right? And they are listening, okay? While acknowledging the bravery of India's armed forces, he was intriguingly silent about the other brave steps that had been taken besides Galwan. Well, I guess only the high-ups and the bureaucracy will know why we do that, but there must be some reason for that. Another big event, while we talk about RCEP and people are saying, oh, we've been put to the sidelines of this lovely get together of the ASEAN nations with China and we missed the boat. See what happens there. You joined RCEP, right? And then there you are. China slaps 200% tax on Australia wine. So what good was it for Australia to join RCEP? Actually ask Australia why it did not have the same guts as India did to have walked out and not signed. It's something I would like Scott Morrison to tell us. Same. Vietnam also part of RCEP. India assures Vietnam of help in military upgrade. Philippines part of the RCEP. We are in the position now of supplying them. We are looking at supplying them with the BrahMos missile. Thailand part of RCEP. It's doing major naval exercises with India. So at the end of the day, RCEP is absolutely not going to take away from the national security impetus that comes for India without having joined that trade agreement. Okay. So let's say, in big push, India reaches out to close extended neighbor. Look at what's happening. We've had this conversation with Vietnam. Our foreign minister has been to Bahrain, UAE, Seychelles, foreign secretary in Nepal. We have Ajit Doval meeting with with his counterparts in Sri Lanka, with Maldives and Sri Lanka. So we are all over the place, right? The other big event that happened and that's going to really churn the waters of the Middle East again, and the sands are going to shift mercurially, is this one. Iran's top nuclear scientist assassinated. If one thought this happened without the hands of Israel and without the blessing of the United States, one would have to live in La La Land. Because I think this is probably a parting shot by Trump and by Netanyahu to tie the incoming administration Biden's hands as far as Iran is concerned. More after the break, folks.
Think of natural products. Think of Sada Jeevan.
Welcome back, folks. Now, a quick one on a constant, question that's being asked and by everybody: who will be better for India, Trump or Biden? Obviously, the Trump followers, of which there are many, essentially the entire, the Modi bandwagon, and essentially, it's really had to do with most of these guys who were really bumping up for Trump for two essential reasons. One, obviously, the latest one was China and our forecast with China and Trump's disruption of China-US relationship. And the other basically insidious one is his attitudes towards Islam and his racial attitude. That kind of suits this crowd that we have here, right, in New Delhi, and kind of helps kind of bridge the gaps. But let's see in reality, right? What is the balance? What is critical for India? Trade. Trump killed us. Withdrew GSP. Will Biden be better? I think absolutely, right. At least he'll be softer into it. H1B, critical for us. Critical for our information technology. What did Trump did? Kill us. Absolutely. Will Biden be better? Well, there may be some people on the left in the United States, which will support employment, local domestic employment. But hey, at the end of the day, Kamala Harris is a girl from California. She knows how critical H1B is necessary for American technology. I expect it to be a much softer tone. Two down, 2-0. 2 Biden, 0 Trump. Then you come up, after that you come up with democratic credentials, right? What happened with democratic credentials? All right, here Trump gave us a pass on CAA, NRC, all the other human rights violations we were happily conducting in it here, including what happened with Kashmir 370. I'm actually all for what happened in Kashmir in 370. Don't get me wrong, right? But I was not totally with the CAA, neither was with the NRC. I thought both of those were not necessary. However, so Biden 2, Trump 1. So the deciding factor, China. The US absolutely disrupted China. Trump did, which probably Obama actually was singularly responsible for allowing the huge bandwidth for China to encroach on everything in South China Sea, because they withdrew from there. Biden, on the other hand, I'm thinking is not going to be able to go back that route. However, this is something but our relationship between India and the United States, we can't really look at it from the narrow keyhole of what the US and China relationship, though it'll have a huge impact, right? So what is the foreign policy press saying about this in the US, right? It says the group has considerable Washington know-how and a lot of Middle Eastern expertise, but it has limited experience with China. That presents a problem at a time when China is the biggest and trickiest challenge the United States has faced since the Soviet Union. It's talking about the Secretary of State and the NSA and the team that's being put together. And maybe that's right, but that's their problem. However, Biden's team won't fall for the idea that giving China everything it wants by retreating from East Asia will cause it to become a good international citizen. Right? Once bitten, twice shy. Especially given the pressure from Republicans desperate to paint Biden as soft on China. But the temptation to make China second or third priority will be there as the administration attempts to rebuild Washington's reputation with allies and perhaps salvage the Iran nuclear deal. Now that suffered a huge setback after the assassination of this lead nuclear scientist. But let's see, that was done on purpose, right? But the focus should be on China. India also needs to make sure that US stays focused on China. The course of Chinese ambition isn't set by Fu's banal op-ed, which came out in the New York Times, but rather by the approach taken towards Australia for daring to take on China over foreign influence, the coronavirus pandemic, and threats at sea. China has demanded that Australia cease funding so-called anti-China research, stop protecting Australians, including Chinese-born citizens, from the Beijing's coercions in living in Australia, and put pressure on its own open society not to talk about Chinese human rights abuse. Unbelievable. And also, other smaller, medium-sized countries have faced similar aggressions. As the Chinese ambassador to Sweden put it, for our enemies, we have shotguns. Boom, boom, folks. Welcome to diplomacy China style, right? Then, however, what do we have from Kanti Bajpai? He says, which he's right? Biden, he says, will definitely adopt a softer tone with China, even though the Democrats are far more stiff-necked about Beijing than they used to be. However, I personally don't think so because of what I'm reading in the FP, right? What he says is, but what is positive for India, which India should remember, China on economic issues, it'll be tougher with China on economic issues than on security issues since the economy affects Americans directly. However, if they're tougher on economic and technology issues, that will hurt China the most. Also, having the US back in the international institutions will be a gain for Delhi. Beijing's global influence will be checked more effectively than during the Donald Trump era. Absolutely so. Then he says, Delhi cannot be complacent on relations with the US for at least two other reasons. One, India will have to work much harder to get Washington's attention. Biden will pay more attention to Europe and East Asian allies and to climate change. Here, India becomes a huge role model, folks. We are center focus as far as climate change is concerned. Modi has put his stamp on it, so we will get the necessary attention no matter what Bajpai says, right? He says, India may not figure as high as it did for Trump. That's okay for us, and we don't need all the attention. Two, Biden is likely to be what's more important, he says, he thinks Biden is going to be a one-term president and Trump may come back. But I don't think Trump will come back, not because he can't, but because he'll be senile by then. But what the world should be reminded is about this. It is going to be a long and hard winter on the northern front, given that disengagement talks have stalled over Beijing's demand that India vacate heights in Chushul and aggressive patrolling in Bhutan. But India cannot flinch, not just for India's own security, but for the world's security as well. Let the world know that, folks, that we are out there defending them. More after the break. Welcome back. So what do we have in balance, right? Let's see. H1B, critical for India. Biden better, 1-0. Trade, Biden better, 2-0. China, even Steven, Biden and Trump, so still stays 2-0. Pakistan, even Steven, both sides. I think both have this desire to pull the troops out of Afghanistan, and they know that Pakistan is necessary for that. But the House and the Senate have absolutely understood the duplicitous behavior of Pakistan and its nefarious designs, so are extremely wary. So I don't expect there to be a much give for Imran on this one, and Imran seems to have burned himself essentially with all the other stuff that he's done, tying up with China and and Turkey. But here again, having stayed the same, we still have Biden leading 2-0, and then we have climate. Here, believe it or not, Biden is going to be a lot better for India because of India's own objectives. So let's put it, Biden better, 3-0. But at the end of the day, India is on its own, folks. It's got to use its own bulk, its own muscle, its own wherewithal. It has to improve its own economy. It has to improve its own systems. It has to bring peace domestically. It has to get rid of all these insidious anti-minority crap that we have. It has to, again, improve our institutions. It again needs to provide the constitutional rights for independent thought and what we eat and what we wear. That's in our own hands. It's neither in the hands of joining the RCEP nor in the hands of who is in the presidency in the United States, folks. So let's not waste too much time worrying about who will be better for India, Biden or Trump. That should be left to our diplomats. After all, what are they here for, right? They have to make sure no matter who comes in is good for India. Jai Hind.